Hi Jacqueline, so just a video to talk through how we would go about set this up. So it does involve quite a number of different steps. So if you do have any questions on any steps of this, we'll probably elaborate a little bit more. But I'm just going to talk through first just the basic setup and kind of a couple of things to consider before we get underway. So I think just to, before I dive into it, the way I'm thinking we're going to work this is basically the first person comes into the survey and gets assigned a random number. We will be storing all of their information into by using a contact list trigger, so we can then use that information at a later date in a different survey. Like you say, we see in the previous survey you said you were married. Is this still happening? Blah blah blah. We can put all of that into the panel using a contact list trigger, and then we can use that at a later date. We can also store that unique number that was assigned to them as well, and just carry that into any following surveys, so you can kind of link them all together. But aside from that, when that first person does complete the survey, we can schedule an email trigger to send out to their partner, and we can include that unique number that was assigned to them in that email, so that we can then use that later on to link the two responses together, and then also store their data in a contact list trigger as well, so we can send out a survey at a later date using them. And then we can continue using that unique number the whole way through, so you can kind of just tie all of their responses together across surveys. So the first step in here would be to actually assign a random number to our participants. To do that, we would click into Survey Flow. I will send a link to a support page on how to set up a random number generator, but ignore this. I'm sorry, this is from another survey earlier. We would be using add new element here, and we would be using a web service, and I will, like I say, send on the steps on how to set that up, but this would be moved right up to the very top to be assigned right at the very beginning. So I'm just going to remove that. But like I say, I'll send on further steps on that. So now this person actually has a unique number associated with them. So the next thing we would do is when the person comes in, their partner comes in, we want to be able to gather that. So we'll be setting an embedded data field called number, for example, or code, whatever you would like. And then up here, we're also just going to call this number or code, and it is case sensitive, so make sure. So basically, we're going to be carrying forward this person's unique number in the email trigger to the other person in their URL, so then we can strip that out a little later on. Next thing we would do is we would set up some email or some panel triggers for this survey. So we would go to Tools, Triggers, Contact List Triggers. We can then choose a contact list or create a new contact list depending on whatever you actually want to do. So we could just give this a name of test, save. And then all new people who take the survey will be added to this contact list. We can pull in their first name from a question, their last name and their email from a question. Then any additional fields such as status, so relationship status, for example. This is done through embedded data. So I just give this a name here. I would be pulling this from a question. I would choose the question asks for their marital status, and then pull in the answer. So you can add as many different embedded data. These are all of the information that are stored in the contact list, so you can use it later on in your follow-up survey. So once that's been done, the last thing then to do would be to schedule an email trigger to send out to their partner. So we would go to Triggers, Email Triggers, and then I would create a trigger. In here, what I would then do is basically send or paste in the anonymous link into this survey. And what I would then do is right on the end of that survey link, I would just add ampersand number, which is our embedded data field, equals, and then I would use this pipe text button right here to insert the value that they've been assigned for their random number. So I would just pull in the embedded data field number, and you'll see this piece of code appears here. So you would have the survey link. So I'm just going to make up one, SV underscore blah 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 blah. The whole link would go here, and then on the end you just add ampersand number, which is the embedded data field name, equals, and then the pipe text of the value of that embedded data field, and then whatever you want else you want to send. To send to that person's partner, you would probably be asking a survey question that asks for their partner's name. So you would just use the pipe text to pipe survey question, whichever question you've asked them for their participant's name, and then you would just pull in their answer into here. That would generate another piece of code, and then you would just copy that code and paste it into the to email address, so it always sends to that person's partner. So then their partner will take the survey using this link right here. You can also make this a hyperlink so that all they have to do is click on it just by highlighting the whole thing using this button and then just pasting in the entire URL into here. So once their participant or their partner actually comes in and takes the survey, that little number is assigned to the end. And you'll see here it says the value will be set from panel or URL, so that will strip out that number. So now both of our participants have this number associated with them. The other thing we want to make sure is that they're not assigned a new random number when they come in. So we would do this by adding a branch. I know this is getting a little bit more technical now, but we would add a branch and add a condition and say that if embedded data number is empty, then only assign them a new random number. And if it's not empty, then they hold on to the number that is up here, which is their partner's number from our previous survey. And again, they would go down to the survey and you would be storing their information then in using a contact list trigger. So now you have both participants' details stored in a contact list for use in a later survey. So I think we'll just take it that far for now. Just go ahead and start setting that up. And when you have that set up and we're confident that that's working okay, then we can go through how a little later, when they're taking a new survey, we can actually start using their stored data as answer choices in here. So how we can pull in, oh, it looks like you were married before, is this true? So if you do have any questions on this, because it is a big setup, please just let me know.